I was a child, my parents gave me a lot of space and a lot of freedom as an individual. My mother was never key, where are you going and what time are you coming back at all. She used to let me watch anything and everything. Read anything and everything in terms of like, oh no, this is only for adults. Or nothing like that was there. There was no censorship like that. I used to always feel very proud actually that people would have high expectations of me because I'm my mother's daughter. I used to take great pride in it. I can never plan a performance. I never plan कि आज मैं जाके ये करूँगी. वो तो मुझसे होता ही नहीं है. I got good work. People appreciated my work. I found that I'm spending so much time in Bombay, I might as well take a house. I always had this thing, you know, I'm very non-committal by nature. I like to see, let's see how it's going and then we'll decide. Ho gaya 20 saal, you know? Karte. See, I personally don't have a problem with depicting violence on screen as long as there is very good reason for it. I don't want to see violence for the sake of it. I don't want to see sex for the sake of it. It has to, you know, there has to be a reason why it's there in the film because it connects to the characters, it connects to the plot or whatever. You know, it has to justify itself. I'm also always amazed by the love I get for Wake Up Sid, I can't tell you, for Aisha Banerjee.
Yeah.
And that Iktara song till today. I've not really done like commercial films like that. So I thought it was far cooler than Aisha also.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like and subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Thank you very much for writing in to us about who you would like to see on the show. My guest today is a 2-time National Film Award winner. Her new series with Manoj Bajpayee is to hit television screens in January. Konkona Sen has carved a niche for powerful roles that she essays. As a director, she focuses on stories that mainstream cinema has neglected. Konkona has acted in Omkara, Life in a Metro, Wake Up Sid, Atithi Tum Kab Jaoge, Lipstick Under My Burkha. Her directorial debut was Death in the Gunj. Konkona, thank you so much for coming to the podcast studio. I've been wanting to have you here for a long time.
How nice. Thank you, Smita. In fact, you know, I'm a big podcast fan and I'm going to go check out the other episodes now.
Okay, so
especially the one you said with Vikrant.
My
Shuntu.
Yes. In fact, so many I've done who are your colleagues. So if you go through the list, then you'll get to know. But
I will.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I believe you're giving us something for our horrible Delhi winters. We're going to be so miserably cold when you're giving us something hot and warm, I believe.
We are. We're going to give you some killer soup.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Actually, soup is something we used to have in the Delhi sham ko, you know, nashta ke liye.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But I believe it's like intriguing. It's mysterious but dark humor.
All kinds of elements, you know. And it's an unusual kind of a show. In the sense, it's an unusual tone. Firstly, this is Abhishek Chaubey. You know,
you've acted before with him, right? No,
this is my first time. So I was really, really looking forward to working with him ever since his first film Ishqiya, and then he's made so many, you know, Ded Ishqiya or Son Chidiya, Urta Punjab, and so many others. He's such a even his short films,
Hatke films.
I really like his work. And somehow, you know, I really resonate with his work. I know him for many, many years because he used to be in Vishal Bharadwaj's team. So even when I was doing Omkara, which must be, I don't know, 2001 in the aughts, as they say.
Ensemble film, right?
Correct.
In which you were there. You
So
got
I
a
knew him
national
for a
award
long
for that,
time.
right? For supporting actress in Omkara? I remember that.
Thanks for reminding me.
I'm dating myself.
No. Please, I'm happy to be my age. But so, you know, I was dying to work with Abhishek. And then, of course, this is with Manoj. It's with Manoj Bajpayee, who's a living legend. Doing such fantastic work. And you know, both Manoj and I have been in the industry for 20 years plus, and we've somehow never worked together. It's so strange.
And you worked with so many of the people that he's worked with, including Vishal, as you were saying.
Yes. Somehow, but our professionally, our paths have not crossed.
Okay.
We've just bumped into each other socially. I think we've always liked each other's work. I to love his work. But this is the first time we're actually working together, and it's a romantic pairing actually. So it's crime, romance, dark humor. So it's a very interesting mix of things.
So can you tell us a little more? Like, are you his spouse or his romantic inclination? Or I believe it's based on real life story or something.
So it's kind of loosely snatched from a headline. But very loosely, some of these crazy, outrageous headlines where you come across. And since, I've been told I can speak freely.
Okay.
So this is
because it's going to air, yeah.
Once it's
Correct.
out, right?
Yes.
So this happens when so I play a character called Swati Shetty, who we used to call her Swati Shady because she's a shady character.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. I've not played too many grey kind of roles. Somehow in my, the films that I'm known for, I've done, I've always played the kind of, very earnest, morally upright girl next
Journalist.
door. Journalist. Or, journalist often, etc. So I was very happy. Ek Thi Dine was one film where I was out and out a baddie. And this one also, and only one or two others I think which have been a little grey. This one also, she's quite grey. So Swati Shetty is the name of my character, and she is somebody who wants to open a restaurant. Should I tell you a little bit about
Yeah.
And
because if you're going to be airing it after it starts, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay.
The basic
it is
premise
not a
I'm telling
spoiler.
you. No, and I'm just saying the premise, which is that according to me, I don't know if Manoj or Abhishek would agree, but from Swati's point of view, which is my character, she's somebody who, she has worked, she's an orphan, she's married, she's had a household, she's had a son who's now, quite grown up and, probably in class 11, 12 or early college or something like that. So a grown-up son. And now she has her own ambitions to fulfill, which I think many women in their early 40s, late 30s, whatever, would. This is something that I think older women would really relate to, that, now I have some time to myself. I want to do things for myself, and she wants to open a restaurant.
Okay.
And she lives in a little hill town. She wants to open a restaurant. She wants to feed people, but she's a very bad cook.
Uh-oh.
So you see what I mean about that
Yes.
humor and the crime, and many things go wrong in between the opening of the. So her larger vision is to open this restaurant. Beach mein men may come and men may go, but Swati lives on, and many things happen. There are a few deaths.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the way you throw that around. A few deaths.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
but
it's that.
after this airs on Netflix and people look at you and you are the host at some lunch or dinner, it's going to be like, what is Konkona going to serve us?
As long as
Killer
it's not
soup?
killer soup, and as long as she's not cooking, it's
Fine.
okay.
So what was it like acting opposite Manoj Bajpayee? You said you were looking forward to it.
So lovely.
Yeah?
So lovely. I've been actually an admirer of his for a very long time. And if you look at his body of work, it's fairly intimidating. He's done such fantastic films,
Correct.
Oh, Gangs of Wasseypur, Satya,
I know.
Bandit Queen, like
Very
so many
iconic
others.
movies.
Iconic films.
Yeah.
And, you would think that he's... it is intimidating. You think he's a serious, intense kind of persona, but aisa nahi hai wo.
He has a sense
He's
of humor.
very,
right?
yeah.
He's come on the podcast.
I saw his picture outside.
Yeah. So we did a podcast. It was like that. It was like, but once the cameras turn on, he's a different person altogether.
He can be if needed.
Yeah.
Comedy also he does. In fact, in this show, I'm saying that there's a dark humor kind of a thing. It's more from him, not really from my character. From him and some of the other characters in the show as well, who are, many characters have been cast from the south because it's set in Menjur, which is a fictional town in the border of Tamil Nadu or something. So there are a lot of actors from there like Nasir sir, Lal sir, Kanika Sruti. So you have a lovely mix of actors who you don't normally get to work with.
Okay. You were just saying that as 20 years in the film industry, not 20, no? It's much more. You came
No,
as a,
I'm saying both of us have been 20 years plus.
Plus,
I started actually.
as a baby, no? 4 years old.
Dad, I'm not counting my child roles.
Yeah, but then you've been part of this industry in some way or the other.
See, in
For
Calcutta,
what?
some
Decades? 3-4 decades, literally, right?
In Calcutta, I was 3.5 when I did my first film. So I was not counting that one because that was just, an accident. But as a grown-up, the first film I did was when I was studying, in fact, in DU and between my second and third year of college.
Which college was this?
St. Stephen's.
Oh, okay. Ha.
After
So, ma'am is a Stephanian, so I'm sure we've had several Stephanians out
Stephanians,
here.
have you?
And we've had people from the Hindu college too.
Of
So,
course.
I've discussed this
This
rivalry.
nonsense rivalry. We too in our time used to be embarrassed by this nonsense.
But why
Firstly,
did you come from
embarrassed by
Calcutta
this.
to Stephens, like Delhi University? Why?
I was actually very happy to. Firstly, the one I had applied to NYU to do cinema studies, and I got in, but there were no scholarships or loans, and it was a very expensive course. And my mom said, yeah, we'll do it. And she was an independent filmmaker at that time. She was not like rolling in the dough or anything. And I said, no, there's no need. I can't, I can't just go and traipse around in New York and study while my mom is like, Mathar Gham Pai, we say in Bengali. Anyway, so then I said, I was very happy to go to Presidency College or Jadavpur, which are wonderful institutions in Calcutta. But my mother said, no, you must leave home for college. Because that is an experience in itself.
Also, she probably wanted you to get out of that comfort zone of Cal where everybody
And I was very chipku, with my mom.
Yeah.
Full chipku with my
So
mom.
sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I believe I've become better.
But she must have been a towering influence in your life, right?
Of course.
For those of you who are not familiar with Konkona Sen's mother, Aparna Sen, here's a short primer. Konkona Sen's mother is the acclaimed Indian film director and actor Aparna Sen, who's done some phenomenal work in the Bengali and Hindi film industry and has won several awards, including the 4th highest civilian award in India, the Padma Shri. Konkona Sen acted in the English language film Mr. and Mrs. Iyer in 2002, directed by her mother, which won Konkona the National Film Award for Best Actress. I've read interviews of yours while I was researching. I was reading some interviews in which you said that she was kind of picky, like you can't watch Bold and Beautiful.
Yeah.
You can't watch
my God.
Ramayana, Mahabharat. Till you read it, you're not watching
You read it yourself.
Huh?
What? Parenting, my God, huh?
Can you imagine doing it now to your son?
I'm not able to. I'm already failing. But, because they are so full of Avengers and Marvel and all that. I did try, made him watch Pothir Panchali. I made him watch some Iranian cinema. I can see he's engaged. But I think he's also not used to it. If it's not a happy ending.
Ray films are, it's an acquired taste for somebody who's not into filming. You know what I mean? Like even as a child when I saw
Shonar Killa, which is a children's film.
I found it very disturbing,
I must show that to even I found it scary as a child. And I think my child will also find it scary, so maybe I'll wait a little more.
So, and I remember sitting because my dad would do the same thing like your mom was like, you have to watch Mrinal Sen, you have to watch Satyajit Ray. And even though we were not a film family, but still.
Oh, how nice is that?
Work of art. So you watch it. So I watched it, but it was like, okay, watch. Not giving us that perspective which you need, because I remember being very frightened with it afterwards.
Even I was. Because it's an uneasy, creepy kind of a feeling when you're younger.
And I kept thinking that, okay, is my dad my dad? Is my mom my mom?
And who am I?
Who am I? Did I come
very fundamental question, at that age.
And then going to ruins for almost 2 years.
Was ruined for you.
It was ruined because I was like, have I been here before? Am I getting that deja vu feeling?
Yeah, in these ancient places.
So then,
she
let's
was
go
very
back to
particular.
yours.
No, so she was very particular like that. Like because Bold and Beautiful and Santa Barbara had just come out, and this Ramayana Mahabharat was such a craze when we were growing up. Or even like Hindi mainstream films, Bengali mainstream films. She didn't let me watch.
Okay.
Of course, I sneaked in a few here and there, and I loved one or two. But by and large, she didn't let me watch. But we watched a lot of regional cinema, a lot of art cinema, a lot of world cinema. Even books wise, she would say, you can't keep reading Enid Blyton. You have to move on to classics. Or she would say, you can't, don't read only Archie's comics. I mean, you read other things also. I'm glad she did it in retrospect. And at that time, I have to say, I was quite an obedient child. I was not a rebel like my sister.
But then both of them had literature backgrounds. Your mom and your dad. Your dad a journalist. Your mom also edited. So, there were books all around. I'm guessing you grew up with books around,
and
right?
I used to read anything and everything in the house because I grew up with a single working mother practically. I had a wonderful relationship with my father and I, would visit him, but he was in another city and my parents were divorced. Touchwood, they had a very amicable, respectful kind of a divorce, at least from my point of view. But so I grew up a lot with my mum, a single working mother, and I was very shy, very quiet, introverted, and bullied.
You have a sibling, right?
I have an older sister.
Older sister,
So she's
okay.
10 years older.
Oh.
She's 10 years older.
Okay, so yeah, it's
she
almost
went
like an only
abroad.
child. Oh, I
She went to the US to study, I think in 88 or 89 or something. So I was like 9 years old.
Okay, so
And
you're a kela bacha almost.
yeah, like after that. So I used to read a lot, spend a
Okay.
lot of time on my own
Huh.
as a kid.
Okay.
But I was saying that my mum insisted that I leave the comfort of the home to go and study. I couldn't care less. I was like very happy at home. I had friends, family. I was very comfortable. She said, no, go and study. At least in Delhi University, they have such wonderful colleges and whatever. Do whatever you like, but go study away.
But did people in Delhi know that you have acted in Bengali films?
No. That time I hadn't.
But Mr. and Mrs. Iyer you had acted in at that
No,
time.
that was after college.
That was after college.
That was after college.
Yeah.
So my first film is a Bengali film called Agjache Konna, which means Once There Was a Girl, which is directed by Smita Sen. Wonderful guy. The film was very okay, but it did very well. So that was my first film. Mr. and Mrs. Iyer was my third film.
Okay. But did you grow up with everybody expecting you to be an actor? Like, कि ये तो करेगी ही, acting ही करेगी. And because I just saw an interview of Janvi where she said that when she got into the film industry, and initially it was a rebellious phase where everybody thought, oh, okay, you're going to be like your mom. And the first couple of films, she was desperately trying not to be like her mother. She says every time she would smile, it was like, oh, you look like your mother. So did that come to you when you were acting?
Mine wasn't exactly like that, I think, because firstly, when I was growing up, my mum, I think, had largely transitioned into being a director and an editor. Of that women's magazine. It was a very popular women's magazine, and she used to really write the editorials herself about all kinds of current affairs, women's
she's politically
issues.
very active also.
Yeah, and she thinks about whatever issues, and she'll write about whatever she feels strongly about. Wonderful example. So I didn't actually see the years of her being a mainstream commercial actress.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I didn't see it very much, maybe when I was very young. So by the time when I was growing up, in my memories, I was... I had seen maybe a few films. She was acting in fewer films. She was directing far more. So I didn't really see... And of course, she was very famous. And when I was younger, we would go places and I would be her protector, when other people would come and, bug her, bother her.
Petite. How can you be?
Oh, but I feel 6 feet tall,
The Bengali women, right?
I don't know. I feel like that. My mother herself, she says sometimes, where are you getting so much confidence from?
I met many people from Bengal. I just feel that reading, art, all that is part of your culture of growing up.
I had to learn singing and dancing. It's not like I'm particularly talented in either. I mean, I love it, but I had to learn growing up. Yeah. So I agree.
So the exposure to so much, it's considered mandatory, but not in a tough kind of a way.
Not in a tough kind of way. Almost like, a sense of identity.
Yeah.
Culture, pride, and that, I guess.
And that is enhancing your character as a person. Yeah. Not with this long-term thing ki actress banengi to singing sikhao. Do you know what I mean?
So that way, nobody would, in my family, the way it was, nobody would force me to do anything. But continuously I used to hear, you act so well, you must become an actor. Continuously people used to say this. Also because I acted in a telefilm that my mother directed called Picnic, which had Shabana Azmi, Farooq Sheikh, and many others, Farida Jalal.
In fact, Shabana Azmi's one interview, she said, I named her Coco because of Picnic.
She did.
Yeah.
And that's how this name stuck, thanks to her. Yeah. I used to call her Munni, she used to call me Coco.
And they both were very close, right?
They were very close.
And they've maintained this thing.
They did, I think, 2-3 films together at that time. And they maintained a friendship, of course, across cities. But they maintained a lovely friendship. So people would keep telling me that you're such a good actor, you must act. And I used to, because I didn't really relate to the Bengali mainstream films or the Hindi mainstream films, because those are not the kinds of films that I grew up on. I didn't feel I looked like those heroines. So I never felt that. I used to be like, I don't know why. What will I do there? Why are they saying this? And they love me. That's why they're saying I'm a good actor.
Okay.
That's why, because they love me. And, you know, very loving, affectionate, demonstrative family. Everybody's very loving and all. I mean, you know, supportive in a nice way.
Your masis and
My masis, my sister, my grandparents. Then I grew up with a bunch of my mom's friends, you know. So all these mushies who are like the sorority around my mother. That was also lovely.
And that's very important, right? Especially when for a child of a single mother, her friends, her support structure become your support structure.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And that's why I feel that many of the characters which you have portrayed are of this strong women characters. Even if your character that you, maybe it's subconsciously you're picking those roles.
Yeah.
You know, the influence of these strong women around you, you're probably picking those roles. Where I don't know of any role that you've done where you're this Rona Dhona subservient.
I would like to do roles, not necessarily ki subservient, but I don't want to have to always play a very strong character. I like the idea of somebody who becomes strong through the course of the film or has some kind of a transformation or some kind of a change or growth or shift. And I don't feel I have to be a strong, substantial woman all the time. Like I used to get a lot of these very morally upright women earlier, now not so much. But you know, coming back to that, I never wanted to be an actor, that's why.
Really?
I never wanted to be an actor. I thought I'll do like, I used to enjoy reading, I used to enjoy English literature. I was, in fact, growing up, I was never a good student. It was only in class 9, 10 onwards and in college that I became a good student, you know. But like Bajpayee, I used to do very badly, in fact. I was in a very old world, traditional, strict kind of a school. And I actually didn't flourish in that environment. I guess, I don't know, different.
But DU was a good experience, I guess.
DU was great. My mom switched me to an international school and I really blossomed there, you know, in many ways. So,
but when she cast you in a film like Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, did you at that stage think that, oh, I'm doing something which is going to get me an award? Did you realize that or nothing?
You know, the desktop, that time there was desktop. Desktop used to be in my room. So she's sitting and writing in my room. And growing up with a filmmaker, writer, constantly she's narrating stories. Constantly, the drop of a hat, the middle of shopping or on the way somewhere, she's like, you know, I've been thinking about this, and she'll start on a story.
So you're the sounding board for Aparna Sen. Wow.
I'm lucky enough to often be. Nowadays, not so much, sadly. Yeah. Nowadays, not so much, I feel. Because, you know, we're different cities and life takes over. But yes, a lot of the time, I think, not just me, but her family, her friends close to her, people she confides in. So Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, she's writing. I could be in my bed reading a book and she'd say, oh, let me just read aloud this bit. And I would listen. I loved that and I was used to it. And she later says that apparently from the expressions on my face while she's reading aloud, she got the idea to cast me. When she told me, you know, you should do Meenakshi Iyer, I said, no, are you mad? You please take a Tamilian. And I suggested 1 or 2 people also.
But Rahul is also not a Tamilian, but still.
No, but Rahul's character is not Tamilian. Rahul's character is Jahangir Chaudhary, who must have been like a city boy, maybe Calcutta or Bombay. I don't remember actually exactly.
20 years ago?
20 years ago must be, yeah.
Quite some time back.
That's
so
right.
when you got that national award at that time, did you feel like, or did your mom feel it's come too early in your career or something?
No. I think that firstly because I didn't want to be an actor even after acting in Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, which was my 3rd film. My 2nd film was a film with Rituparna Ghosh. He just wanted me to act in that film. I was like, okay. My mother was playing my mother in the film. We went to a hill station. It was just like a holiday. And I kept thinking, now I have to get a real job. So I was looking at the classifieds in the newspaper. Once Mr. and Mrs. Iyer was over, ki abhi kya kare? I'll have to get a job in publishing.
Seriously?
Or a job in... Yeah, because, you know, by the time...
Did movies offers come
because from the time that you finish shooting till the time it releases and then the award season starts, it's quite, I mean, it must be a year or so or maybe 10 months, something like that. So at that time, I didn't know what... I was so young. I must have been 22, 23, 24. I don't exactly remember. Something like that. And early 20s. And I thought, now I'll have to get a real job in publishing or advertising or some such thing, journalism. And firstly, my mother tricked me into doing the role. Because she sent me to Chennai saying that please go do my research. So I immediately went and chucked my ME, which I had started. because the MA was very boring.
Yes.
And it was in a very ugly building.
Oh gosh, it's so similar to me. I did the same. I did the English literature bachelor's and then did my MA for about
Started it.
2 weeks maybe. And then
Yeah,
I
I
said,
did for a
can't.
month or so.
Everybody was doing studying for the UPSC, and I felt that
Yeah.
there's no point doing MA if that's what I'm going to end up with. So it was
Right.
journalism then. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. No, and I went to an international school, so we were doing the same curriculum again and again. I did the same thing in 11 and 12 for A levels. Milton, Chaucer, Donne, Shakespeare. Again, I did it in college.
Yeah.
Again in MA now. I was getting very bored. My mother said, please, you go do some research for me in Chennai. I happily went there, writing the difference between Iyers and Iyengars and Shaivites and Vaishnavites and all that, having a blast.
Okay.
Then I came back fully immersed in the culture. So by then I was like, "Theek hai, I'll just do this. Now I'll just do it." And she made me prep a lot. Then I did it. Anyway, then when the national award came, it came early morning. I was sleeping. I think my stepfather woke me up and said, you won the national award. I said, oh, really? Wow. And I went back to sleep because I was too young. I was too young to
The
even
import of
understand.
that was gone, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to sleep in the early morning. And I woke up to literally the house full of journalists.
Okay.
And that was a turning point for me because I think like what happened is people got to know that, whatever, there's an actress also, Konkona, who's decent. And so I started getting offers.
What was your mom like as a mom, and then on the sets? Was she different with you when she was there? And it was like, no, mom, I won't do this. Was it like that?
No. I always used to, because I was asked this question since I was a kid, right? And I used to always feel very proud, actually, that people would have high expectations of me because I'm my mother's daughter. I used to take great pride in it. And no comparisons ever occurred to me, but constantly journalists of that time would ask me this. I remember saying this at that time, so young, that a director's like a mother. Because she's creating, she's nurturing, she's maybe perhaps disciplining, and she's the head of that unit. She's that matriarch. So it's an extension of your personality. It's not like you switch off and become another person. It's still you.
Yeah.
But little bit maybe our styles of acting were different to a certain extent. These things were not so clearly articulated in my head at the time. But sometimes I'd be like, oh, I know what you mean. Like sometimes she'd show me what she's doing. Because she'd always say that I'm not very articulate, so this is how I want it. And so I'd see and I would understand, because I know her and her expressions, I would understand what she wanted. And then somehow it would come out in my own way only.
So you're emoting differently, but you're taken the
But I know
essence.
the emotion because she specified the emotion.
Okay.
Very interesting, actually.
And especially at a time, she got into direction at a time. I mean, today when we're talking about women directors, I mean, if there are, teenagers or people in their 20s and they think, what's the big deal? Why are you making such a big deal? But the point is, Aparna Sen got into becoming a director when there were no women directors.
Hardly,
She donned that hat at a time
Very
when...
few. I think Sai Paranjpai was
Sai
one of them.
Paranjpai, yeah. And that was in Maharashtra, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
and
removed,
then moved to Bombay.
Yeah. Who else? Even I can't
remember. Yeah. So...
Aruna Raje. But more documentary, no?
Documentary filmmaker. Yeah. But also NSD and then hence
Yes.
there.
So few and far between, whatever it is. Yeah.
So, and they had a clique of that NSD actors who were with them, with Farooq Sheikh, Nasiruddin Shah and all that. Your mom was branching out in a different era. She was trying different genre and completely fabulous work that she produced. Every film of hers, which was tremendous. And then that is the expectation from you, I guess. Every time that, your mother's daughter.
I guess. Luckily somehow, I don't know how or why it's happened. Probably because my parents have been like this. I've never felt any pressure to live up to other people's expectations of me.
Okay. That's the
Including my
confidence
parents.
in your art and your personality?
I think it's my upbringing,
Okay.
I really do, because since the time I was a child, my parents gave me a lot of space and a lot of freedom as an individual. My mother was never where are you going and what time are you coming back at all. She used to let me watch anything and everything. Read anything and everything in terms of like, oh no, this is only for adults. Nothing like that was there. There was no censorship like that from her. she also comes from a long line of women. Her mother, so my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother are all educated.
Yeah.
Educated working women who married late and had children late.
And they were into literary pursuits, your
Literary
grandparents.
pursuits, my grand uncle was Jivananda Dashgupta, who was a
Poet.
very well-known poet. Yes.
Yes.
And most people don't know.
Yeah.
And they were also in Brahmo Samaj, which is the reform movement. Missionaries. My great-grandparents were missionaries.
So she takes you in as a 3.5, 4-year-old kid and makes you act. And then she brings you back and also makes you act in something like a disturbing, probably, film called The Rapist. Right? But by then you have this huge body of work. How did it feel to be back in the sets between that time and this time? You wouldn't remember, I'm sure, as a little baby acting.
Little baby too, I don't remember because I was just happy to be on set. I think they'd got
But
another...
Picnic you would remember.
Picnic I remember, and even others like
You would
Mr.
remember.
Mrs. also, I was so
Mr.
young.
Yeah, correct.
They were early 20s, and I've done actually 4 or 5 of films with her.
But by the time you come to The Rapist, you've
I was
acted
much
in
older.
dozens of actors.
Yes.
I mean, even though you've acted with Rituparna very early in life, you've acted with several big league
No, so then
names.
I had become, and I had also directed by then,
Yes.
etc.
Huh.
But, these are things which I saw. I'm just telling you observations, actually. It's not like I have any theories. That little bit I started teasing her a little bit. I would start... which I don't know how much she liked. But, oh, Coco, she'd be like, So sometimes I know she's looking at me through the camera in front of the monitor, and maybe it's almost lunchtime and we're running. I'd be like, and making faces that I want to eat, or just being like, making faces, or yawning loudly or something. And she, Coco, so just like gently teasing her to the point where she's just slightly harassed. Poor thing. Poor thing. I feel so
Well,
bad.
she knew what she was getting, right?
No, but this is only very recently that I've little bit done it out of affection. A little bit of teasing out of affection. Other than that, we have always, two of us, very clear. Mostly we agree. If we don't agree, we very clearly tell each other, oh, but why like this? No, I was thinking like this. Oh, but you want to, okay, let's see. So this agreeing to disagree and respecting, another person's point of view is such a beautiful thing and so necessary, I feel, in today's intolerant times.
Yeah, true.
Which she really extended. I saw it in action.
So when you were choosing films, did you use her as a sounding board? Like, should I do this film? Should I not do this film?
So the very first few films I think I did. But I've always had a mind of my own. And it's thanks to her. It's thanks to her and my dad, of course. But early on, I remember that film, the first film I acted in, which was a lovely director, Smita Sen, but a terrible film which was a copy of a Hollywood B-grade film called The Crush.
Okay.
Where I was playing like this young teenager who's stalking this older man. I was just way too dignified for all this nonsense. I used to be like, what is wrong with this character?
But you could do the switch even though you didn't believe in it.
No, so that she
That's
really
the actor,
helped me. No, she helped me so much because I was so judgy.
And you had to be the femme fatale. And
I
you
had
didn't
to
want
be and I was not even, I think at that age, comfortable with my own sexuality to begin with.
Okay.
In the sense you don't really come into your own. I feel like I have come into my own as a woman only and barely now in my 30s. And now I'm in my 40s, I'm more confident. But like in my early 20s, I was not key, aise nahi karte behave. I don't know why I had this puritanical notion. But my mother was very helpful. Shohag Shen, who's a fantastic theatre personality in Calcutta, she was very helpful and said, if you don't have empathy, what other weapons does she have in her arsenal, this young girl?
Oh.
And if you don't have empathy for a character, and if you don't, you have to have understanding. You may not agree with what she's doing, but you have to try to understand it from her point of view. These things, she really helped me.
As a journalist, my favorite would always be, I can't pick a favorite of your movies. I liked so many of them, but then I will, because since I am the anchor, I'll pick page 3, where you're a journal.
Of course, yes.
So, you're so committed in that
Idealistic.
Huh?
Young and idealistic.
But your life is so different from page 3. You're never on page 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
My
just,
own life, na?
yeah. Your
I
life
guess.
is, totally, and one never sees you doing airport look. One never sees you in these
I go
page
to
3.
airports all the time.
But
what happens is, unless I think you're a very big star and A-lister and, the paps are following you, or I believe many people even the PR companies pay the paps to
paps.
come. That though I needn't bother.
But
there's
Konkona,
just no
don't be
need.
so modest.
No,
Like
I'm
everybody
not modest, I'm
recognize you.
sensible. No, they may recognize me, but I love the people who like my work because I find them to be very sophisticated and people who come up to me, I wouldn't even call them fans. There are people who admire my work who come up to me and pay their respects. This very politely and nicely they tell me what they like about my work, and it's lovely.
Do you like it? Because some people feel that it's an invasion of privacy, like when they're heading, you're in a mind space, and
sometimes it can be.
It can be.
It can be sometimes. Like say it just happened the other day. I think I was on a stressful phone call. I was rushing for something. Oh, the other day I was crossing the road with my child and somebody asked for a selfie, So I had to say, you have to have some idea of context. First तो मैं डांट देती हूँ सबको.
Oh, see, that's what I mean.
मैं डांट देती हूँ सबको.
That
थोड़ा बहुत, nothing nicely only, nothing bad.
And how does your son take it? Like when that mom, everybody wants a selfie with my mom. Does he?
It's not that level of fame that it is disruptive for him.
Okay.
But it is the level of fame where he knows that my mother is famous, that she's getting awards, that people know her work. He hasn't seen Wake Up Sid, but I think some of...
He hasn't?
No, he hasn't yet seen Wake Up Sid. I've told him that because, a lot of my work he can't see, bichara. Because he's a very adult.
It's not PG-13 as yet. He's 13 already.
He's almost 13 actually. In March he'll be 13.
Yeah. Then he will. But Wake Up Sid is such a
and Love Stories is not something I can show him, na?
No, he can't.
That's what I mean, like my latest work, some of that. But I will show him Wake Up Sid if he's interested.
But strangely enough, with both parents in the film industry, he also must be exposed with his dad also and with you also, right? And both of you, I guess you not so much. Maybe one feels you're political because of the films that you directed or the films that you pick are politically also making statements, right? Though Ranveer is like very politically there.
On Twitter.
On Twitter.
So I hear.
But you are, you're subtle, but you'd have to be political, the kind of films you've done, no?
I think that, the kind of films I've done in the sense the ones I've directed. The ones I've directed, I think it's very clear the issues I'm speaking of, class, politics, desire, or, mental health or toxic masculinity. Those things are very evident in Death in the Gunj and Mirror. Those kind of politics are very evident in that sense.
Let me get to Death in the Gunj. Why so much space between Death in the Gunj and the other one? Love Stories, right?
Love Stories, the Mirror.
There's like 4 years, 5 years?
Much more, because I think Death in the Gunj released in 2017 and Mirror is 2023. So 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Because, I'm primarily an actor. I had no plans to direct. I had no plans to be an actor. I'm a reluctant I used to be, and I'm an accidental actor.
Reluctant fundamentalist, accidental prime minister.
Oh yeah,
joined
that's
together.
True.
Joined
no,
together.
I didn't mean like that. I just mean like, because I didn't want to be an actor, like I was telling you, I later became, I got good work. People appreciated my work. I found that I'm spending so much time in Bombay, I might as well take a house, or rent an apartment and at least see how it goes. I always had this thing, I'm very non-committal by nature. I like to see, let's see how it's going and then we'll decide. Ho gaya 20 saal, Karte.
Wow, that's true. Yeah. It's not a planned, chartered.
It's never planned. I can never plan. I don't know what I'm doing next weekend only, how to plan anything. And what is the point of planning? Anything.
What was Death in the Gunj experience like? Did you get in some of those directorial tips from your mom, or was it subconsciously there when you were directing?
I used to call her every day with a list of questions. Some of it was also research, to be fair, because see, it was set in McCluskey Gunj in 1979. There's not a lot of material that's available on McCluskey Gunj in 79. Even if you get material in Calcutta, you don't get that much like that. So I had to rely, maybe the gazettes and all, but we did get into some research. But a lot of it was based on, talking to my parents, talking to their friends. Did you have running hot water? Who were the Anglo-Indians who lived there? Where did you guys go? How long is the drive? Many, many questions about that world. And what is so interesting when you rely on memory is a very tricky thing because people remember remember differently.
Subjective, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
People remember differently, you know. So
Yeah.
my dad would be like, no, but this was something over there. And my mom would be like, oh, I thought it was something. So you know, it's very nice actually. It was lovely because it's almost magical.
Okay.
And so it's part fiction, part, you know, based on a real incident as well.
So when you got onto the sets, it was like all that you had learnt as an actor helps in as a director, does it? Like, does an
Hugely.
actor make a better director just because you've emoted all those expressions, those feelings? So does it help when you're acting, when you're directing?
I think it's helped a lot because, you know, I think just being on sets is very helpful. And I would recommend it to anybody who is starting off a career in films or behind the scenes or whatever, because film sets are such chaotic environments which, you know, may seem to a layperson to be a very disorganized space. There's 100, 200 people, depending on the scale of your production. There are so many disparate elements which are coming together. So it is not, it's not kind of a very stable, easy to understand environment. So the more comfort you have on a set, I feel the more beneficial it is to you. So as an actor, you also get a sense of the camera. You get a sense of you know the whole
You know
world.
the tech
I've
world,
done
right? The
50 plus
technicality.
films, you know.
Yeah.
So you know how it works, basics, you know. So that's hugely helpful.
There's a quote which I have here when you said there is such a huge discrepancy between our lived experiences and what is depicted on screen. There's no one way to be a woman or lead a successful life, and that needs to be seen much more. It could be about lust stories, could be about so many of the
applies to many
characters.
things.
So does that thought come to your mind when you enact a role that this has to be relatable to some of the women I know in life? Like, is that how you emote?
You know, I feel like first it has to be relatable to me. And if I can find that portal of connection with my character, then I feel and I trust that others will too. It's almost a trust thing. I don't know for sure. And maybe it doesn't always work, you know. But if I can find that, you know, because I really feel that everything is already within us. All the emotions are already within us, you know. And it's just that for different characters, you bring out different aspects of yourself. You know, because we've all known, I've said this before also, we've all known love and loss and betrayal and death and whatever it is, anger, for different reasons, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe the external thing is different, but you felt those emotions. And these emotions, human beings have been feeling for thousands of years.
Feeling and expressing is different. The magic is in the way you express it. That's what makes you a phenomenal actor.
Thank you. So sweet.
The way you express it is different in every film. It's the sadness that you showed, say, in an Omkara is different from the sadness that you show in something else. It's not, you know, somewhere it is restrained, somewhere it's
That's true. I've never thought of it like that, actually.
That is why your repertoire is it's so magnificent.
Thank you. But I am I'm an intuitive kind of a person overall.
Okay.
By and large, it's instinctively only, you know, what I do, whatever acting I try to do is largely through instinct. No, I'm very particular about learning my lines and things like that. You know, showing up on time on set. I have a very good work ethic by and large, I think. You know, what are the scenes before, what is after, whatever. All of that I'm decent at. But actually, you know, I can never plan a performance. I never plan कि आज मैं जाके ये करूँगी. वो तो मुझसे होता ही नहीं है. What happens is, you know, if you're taken with something, it's in your mind, na? And I caught myself doing a deadly thing. I caught myself behaving like my character one day. And I said, you know, this happened a few years ago, where my character is going to profess some feelings to some guy. And I also decided, let me also do that in my real life. There was absolutely no need to do this. But, you know, I kind of did it because I wanted to just revise that feeling of that insecurity or that, you know, I just wanted to cheat from myself, really. And I love it. I love it when your self leaks into your characters. I don't know if I don't know for some people, I don't know, it must be working differently for different actors where otherwise it becomes repetitive or what. I don't know all that. But I love it because, actually when you're shooting on a set, it's so disjointed. You are just somehow creating that reality with yourself and your co-actor. Sometimes your co-actor's not even there in front of you.
Yeah.
They're a little off to the side, or they're not there for cues, or you're acting to a mark, and there's so many people around you. So really, it's an exercise in willpower and imagination.
So how do you do it then? I mean, you're supposed to have this really orgasmic look on your face, and there's actually a mark in front of you.
Yeah, it
And
happens.
you have to do that.
Luckily what happens also, I don't know if this is too technical, you can take it on.
No, go
That when you start with the, often,
Huh.
conventionally, you don't have to do this. You start with a wide or a master, so you say there are 3 characters, so you're covering all 3 what they're doing,
Huh.
And then you come in for closes.
Huh.
This is a conventional way of doing things. It's not necessarily the only way or the best way. So what happens is basically you have repeated the action a few times already. So वो बैठ जाता है. And I don't believe that rehearsal can ruin spontaneity at all.
Okay.
Because the more you rehearse, the more spontaneous you can be, the more in command of it you are, at least for me.
But I've heard that there are some iconic actresses who, like, it was like that one shot, and when they decide that they have emoted the best, they don't want to do it again. Do you do that? Like,
Not at all. How can you do that? You have to do what your director tells you.
yeah. I'm going to quote Karan Johar when, his remarks about your direction skills. He spoke about lust stories, and he said that, there were these deft pauses, silences, which you managed so well. And he was very... he said your direction skills were phenomenal, and he says that the sensitivity that you handled it with, he was all praised for it. So, how did you manage that?
What it shows is the generosity of his spirit.
Because the way he handles sensuality is different, and the way you've handled it in lust stories is completely different. What was your take when you went into lust stories? How did you want to depict it?
No, like that. It's not like I went in with a plan. Firstly, I wasn't planning to direct anything. But Ashi Dua, my wonderful producer, came to me and said, will you do love stories? And I was like, Arey, I don't have a story. Give me a few months. If I can come up with a story, I'll do it. Otherwise, I won't do it. She said, yeah. You'll come up. And so I was looking for, I had lust on the mind, looking for lust stories. And you don't want to do just plain lust because it's a little boring. Everybody knows lust, na? So I wanted to just mix it with like motherhood or something interesting. And then I heard this real life story. My friend who lives, on her own, who came back one day like this and encountered a situation like this herself.
Bai.
Yes, Bai. And she, except there was no conversation. She put her hand out, the Bai put the key, bas khatam kahani. But I just was putting myself in that situation thinking that, how do you deal with that situation? I might just run, if I run out, because oh my God, with the shock, you just run out. And I have this habit, me and my girlfriends, we all chat on the phone a lot. So if I had been just talking to her, I would just call her back and say, you know what happened just now? I would only say, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then we would discuss it, and then I just kept imagining this, and it just kept playing out like this. I imagined it like this. And I found, even when my friend narrated that story of the real life anecdote, I found everything is already there in this situation. Who is allowed what space? Because, you may lend your apartment, say single women in urban spaces. You may loan your apartment to your friend.
Yeah.
You may. Of course, that's with consent. And also, I didn't want to get into the morality of it. I found that a little boring. I didn't want to get into the morality of it. I felt both are transgressing. Both are doing something wrong.
But it's also the class.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Because I think it would have been a very different reaction if it had not been a Bai and someone else. What you can get away with by saying to your Bai when Tilottama Shom says, and what a brilliant, both women have done such a brilliant performance, and she says, it's my word against yours, and who will believe you over me, is something we all know.
Class struggles, yes.
And does she not know how Habai must be living, we all know what
Yeah, yeah.
chawls are like in Mumbai.
Yeah, yeah.
We know. And the thing is, I knew that
Yeah.
Ishitas of the world would be watching it, not the Seemas of the world.
Yeah.
You know? So you enter the film with an Ishita. You encounter it from here. So you have all the time and space to go and get, your shock and disgust and all out of the way. And then you can just complicate that further. And then we go into Seema's chawl. And then we see how she's living and how many, when she's lying, there are a pair of limbs over here, her child. I don't know how much is visible in that frame. But because there are many bodies, you can hear somebody else snoring because that's how people live in Bombay.
Yeah, yeah. And also, these kind of films, it makes you, many people I've noticed who, you don't want to face the fact that there is something called senior love. You don't want to face the fact that there is sexuality in older women, that there is sexuality in a different strata.
Yeah.
You think that romance, love, everything exists in your level of people.
Correct.
Right? And to think that your bai has sex is like, oh my God.
But it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
Right, because we are not humanized.
Huh.
No, but these are very important. I wanted to see, firstly, women can barely, who have any class or whatever of society, can barely acknowledge their own desires,
Yeah.
Which is why for me, like almost the crux of the film is that line when Amrita Subhash says, "Kyunki mere ko bhi to maja aata tha." That she says that is very important for me. That Tilottama's character says those things to her, the conversations they have, I wanted it to be just said out loud because we have normalized it and we are forgetting. We are normalizing it. We're not humanizing some people, and that's not right. And I wanted her to say, "Teri chaddi tak to main dhoti hai."
Yeah.
And we see that visually. We see her hanging out, lacy lingerie, expensive.
Yeah. And do you think India is ready, or India was ready when you made the film for this? They didn't go chi-chi.
No, I don't know. I don't care.
You
That
don't-
don't matter. That doesn't matter. I don't know. What is India?
No, what I mean is that it got accepted so well.
Oh, no, see, the thing is...
They didn't throw it out. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. I honestly, I never thought of that. I never thought so far ahead. I shocked myself. When we were writing it, I was like, "Aise kaise likh sakte hain? My God, we'll write this also. So much we'll do." I scandalized myself only. But I found it a very exciting and almost dangerous idea. And I never thought, are people ready or not ready to accept it? I was surprised that so many people showed it so much love.
Exactly.
Yes, you're right. But there must be some sections who, I don't know, maybe don't like it.
There are films being made where Neena
that's
Gupta,
okay.
Neena Gupta is in her 60s and they're showing her in bed with a man. Can you imagine 15 years ago also this happening? I don't see that. And they would have probably shown that, or when I was a kid, those two flowers together knocking.
Of course.
That was love, right? Even if you see Andhi, that's also senior love.
Yeah.
But where do you see it? You only see it in eyes or whatever. You don't see that, some might label it crudity, but in actuality, which you are showing, which so many of the Netflix series are making us aware about these things, that it's there. And all thanks to actors like you who are, presenting it not in a crass manner, in an artistic manner.
I
but
don't want to titillate anybody, I'm not interested in providing any kind of arousal. You can do that for yourself. It's available everywhere. I'm actually talking about, other issues, how we treat other human beings and how much we live in denial. Because, when the two women have that fight, it could have been very easily solved if, Tilottama said, "Yeah, I used to watch you," and Amrita said, "Yeah, I know you used to watch me." Actually, that they are in sync.
Yeah.
They have a perfect thing going. She likes to watch. She likes to be watched.
Konkona, you come
But
from
not the husband.
You come from a privileged home. How did you understand about Bai? Even though you've seen chawls, but to be so empathetic in your direction, in your acting, in many scenes where you are playing roles and you are...
What an interesting question.
How do
Because
you do
I
that?
think it's possibly because I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking now, and I love the question. I think it's also because, my mom was also a very, very busy working mother. She was not always there at home after school, for example. Or sometimes she would come back late. I mean... I used to practically go into her bed every night and we were very close and all of that. But she was busy, and often like after school I would go to her workplace. I would take my homework and sit there, all of that. I had help at home who I was very close to. And I would also sleep with them, eat with them. live with them, I guess. I don't know where or how it comes from. Honestly, I don't know. You know, and it's not like, these things were so evident to us. Like, for example, caste is something that is just, we have educated ourselves in whatever little we know in
Correct.
the last 5-7 years.
Yeah.
This thing of, you have separate dishes for help at home. It comes from untouchability.
Yeah.
And it makes no scientific sense at all because, there's detergent and antibiotic, whatever it's called, antibacterial soap, which is killing like germs. So it doesn't make any sense. But it's just been unthinkingly passed down.
Yeah. कि उनका कप अलग होगा, उनका प्लेट अलग होगा.
And
Right.
it's not right. Because we can't live with so much disparity because I don't know how you can be happy in your home when someone else is not.
So,
I guess.
this empathy, these are things which shake you, right? Like when you see that, you feel those are the stories that need to be told so that we change our mindset. You tend to say that this comes accidentally to you, but it's somewhere there, right?
So it happens, I don't know how it happens instinctively. So this part is not thought out like that for me. Then it comes naturally. I think it's also reading, being aware of the world, being interested in where you are in the world, what your privilege is, and, learning about the world. All of that also, I think, just creeps in.
Yeah, like I interviewed Prakash Jha. He's from West Champaran, one little village. So obviously the stories he tells reflects that angst of people from that village who want to make it in life, and it's a deep struggle. So when he gets his actors to emote, he brings in that background.
Yes.
So it may not be deliberate, but it is part of the lived experience.
Yes, it's just part of you, actually.
Yeah. So,
and even when you read, I think, you inhabit different worlds. One has to be able to inhabit worlds other than one's own.
okay, I have to ask you about Wake Up Sid. I
Of
mean,
course.
every friend of mine who I spoke to when I said I'm interviewing Konkona, I was like, talk to her about Wake Up Sid. What was it like?
I'm also always amazed by the love I get for Wake Up Sid. I can't tell you, for Aisha Banerjee.
Yeah.
And that Iktara song, till today, people always are sending me on DMs. It's so sweet.
Saying what? What do they say to you?
No, they are singing Iktara, this is for you, Konkona. It's very sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very touched because I've not really done like commercial films like that. So,
Did you
this is
like
great.
it, like acting in that film? Because it seemed like you are Aisha. That restlessness that you brought into that. It was as if it was you. Were
I
you
enjoyed
that?
working on it. I don't think I was that. I thought I was far cooler than Aisha also. But I really liked working on that because first Ayan Mukherjee, who's the director and writer.
He was so young when he did that.
Oh my God, I don't know, he's 25 or 26 or something like that.
Yeah.
Such a good writer, director, such a nuanced script it was. He had thought through everything so well. It was such a delight to work with him and Ranbir. Ranbir and him were already friends.
And he was also bacha at that stage.
Ranbir had
was
just
like-
done, I think, Savaria or whatever, 1-2 films.
Yeah.
And he had come from film school. So he actually had a lot of technical know-how.
Which
Ranbir.
people don't know.
Which people don't know.
That he
I
comes-
remember one point, Anil Mehta, who's, such a famous DOP. I was asking the assistants, and then finally Ranbir, I remember, gave the answer. I was very impressed about this left and right and all of camera.
He knew about
He
all that
knew.
because he had
many actors
worked.
know.
Yeah. But when you did Last Stories, everybody was talking about about female sexuality. Now comes a film like Animal, where people are talking about toxic masculinity. How do you see that the two? If one is to juxtapose these two?
See, I personally don't have a problem with depicting violence on screen as long as there is very good reason for it, And like, for example, even sex. I don't have a problem, with viewing sex, but I don't want it to be there just for the sake of it. I don't want to see violence for the sake of it. I don't want to see sex for the sake of it. It has to, there has to be a reason why it's there in the film because it connects to the characters, it connects to the plot or whatever. It has to justify itself. That is one thing. Why is it there? What is the intent of the director? But from what I understand, and I may be mistaken, I've not watched Animal because I don't feel it's my kind of a film. I haven't really been drawn to it, even from the reviews and things. Also, I'm aware of his previous work, and he stands by that work, the director. And where stalking has been glorified, a certain, violence has, been made acceptable in relationships, and that is not what I stand for. Now, if it's done very well, I don't mind watching it.
Okay.
But that's not what I've heard. And I don't think I'm the target audience anyway.
Yeah.
There are millions of people who are watching it. So
Yeah.
it's doing very well and they don't need me.
If you were to look back and say, oh, I wish I had done this film, I wish it had come my way, what would be that kind of a film? Like a Tumka Tumka kind of or an out-and-out commercial, or a Shaban Azmi kind of a film? Like, what was it
I
that...
don't think out and out commercial because that's not my space. I personally don't relate to it myself because I didn't grow up watching it. So I don't have that kind of nostalgia or attachment or some childhood memory to it either. For me, it would be like... oh my God, I don't know.
Like, would you want to do a Satya, or would you want to do a Masoom kind of a film?
I would love to be a part of films like Monsoon Wedding. Meera Nair's films.
Meera Nair.
Yeah, that seems... I feel at home in Monsoon Wedding or Namesake, like those kind of films one feels at home in.
But you've
My mother's
acted
films.
in these... Yeah, your mother's
course.
films. You've acted in films where there are these big league guys and it's an ensemble cast. And that you did very early in life when you were in your 20s, and and you were just breaking it out in Bombay film industry. Did you feel that you could hold your own? Were you confident that you could do, like, if you're acting with a Nasiruddin Shah, you're acting with a Mr. Bachchan?
I've not acted with Mr. Bachchan and barely with Nasir, even though I adore him. But Nasir also, I've done a film which hasn't released, and so I've not worked very closely. I've acted in his film that he directed. But
like, say, in Omkara, there's this
yes, I was just
huge...
thinking of Omkara because they were very established stars of that time. Yeah, that's true. But I was like, they have asked me to do it. I just have to learn my lines and learn that accent, that Western UP accent for a Bengalan like me, it was very tough, and sing sound, so the recording live sound. So my throat used to become dry before every shot.
But it's a Bharadwaj film, right? So it's like Vishal Bharadwaj film.
Yes.
Where he's like, gives it to you and you do it then, right? Isn't that how he does? No.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Like, in the sense, like, as a director, would he tell you that this is how you emote, and then that's it, leaves it to you?
Acha. I think he would, but and he does. He tells you what he wants and then he lets you do it. And if you're not giving him what he wants, then he'll come quietly and tell you some little things, and then he'll get that out of you, which is wonderful.
Okay.
I remember how he spoke to me it was beautiful, and that performance only I feel changed.
Okay. In these kind of films where when you have all these actors and still you get an award, did you at that stage think that these guys will get the award, not me?
No,
do you work towards
awards? Nobody
No.
thinks so. I mean, I don't think you think about awards at all.
Okay.
The thing is that, you have to like the work. Otherwise, you can't do the work. You have to respect the work. You have to like the work. And you have to not be attached to outcome. And I never was. And because when I was younger, I didn't want to be an actor. Only much later. That time, I had nothing to prove. I was not, this film has to work. I have to make it. ये तो था ही नहीं. I was like, ये बोल रहे करने के लिए मैं ठीक से तो कर दूँ. कि मैं lines, I must remember my lines and be on time and do my thing. I'll try my best to do it properly. This was it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm sure this new series which is coming on Netflix is going
Killer
to be super...
Soup.
Yeah, Killer Soup is going to be great, and I'm
very
recommend
excited.
it to my viewers just because I know
Thank
it's you and Manoj Bajpayee.
And Manoj and Abhishek Chaubey.
And Abhishek
I'm so
Chaubey.
excited.
So, finally, tell us what we have to look forward to in 2024, acting in any other, directing any others, and what would you want to do?
So, what I would want to do, actually, I find a lot of time I spend doing stuff that I don't want to do, like a lot of admin and organization and planning and figuring stuff, which I've become good at, but it's not like my first priority. What I would ideally like to do is like sleep for about 10 to 12 hours every day and spend a lot of time in daydreaming and in idleness and reading and walking and exercising and doing that kind of stuff.
Travel?
Spending time with my child. No, I'm kind of done with travel. I did a lot of travel post-pandemic and I don't feel the urge to travel like that. Travel has become very Yeah, it's okay. I've traveled a lot recently. Now I'm okay. Again, the urge will rise and again one will go. It's a cycle. So that's what I feel like doing. What I am also doing, and I'm lucky enough to do, and I'm grateful and happy to be doing it, is I'm trying to develop a web series with, a colleague of mine, a college friend of mine. It's a comedy series, writing, directing, producing. And I am also acting in Anurag Basu's Metro 2.
Yeah, you're the only one from that original.
Yeah, I do. In the sense, I don't know how it's a spiritual sequel because.
Oh, okay, that's a nice.
I mean,
way
I don't
to
know
see it.
that. Yeah, I'm saying that. I hope Anurag Basu will agree with me.
Okay,
but he's a sweetheart, and I think he will.
so we look forward to that, and
Thank
wishing
you.
you all the best. Thank you so
much. It was so lovely to talk to you, Smita.
Lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching or listening to this edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.